Boys, be brutally honest. What makes a girl attractive instantly? Intelligence and kindness. Hands down. You can be pretty or not, but the moment I discover that you are thoughtful and kind, boom, you're a knockout. Married my knockout too. Being naturally funny to the point we can just riff and both be cracking up. Met one girl in my life that would have me constantly dying, so I invited her out to the bar since all our mutual friends were going out. We spent all night just cracking jokes and trolling men who would approach her. Man, I never wanted to pop a ring on someone's finger faster, I swear. I prefer to lurk, to be honest. I think I messed up my response in the thread, so I will throw it in here. Apologies for the late response. I wrote this before I went to bed and have been super busy at work this morning. To keep it private, I'll call her Sarah here. So Sarah and I hung out one more time the very next day at a small gathering at a friend's house. Again, we spent the whole night pretty much making everyone laugh and just having a good, positive, funny time. Good music, good people, lots of drinks to go around and new people to meet. Even met some of her close friends there, and we all got along really well. Everyone started to get tired since it was around 5 a.m., so we all made our way back to our cars getting ready to head home. In the parking lot, we exchanged numbers, social media, and what have you. We did end up texting a bit, trying to hang out again, but our schedules were a little hectic and couldn't get together. Within a week, Sarah went ghost on social media and no longer responded via text. I reached out to one of her close friends. Come to find out, we went to the same middle school and asked what happened to her or if she at least heard from her. Apparently, Sarah had some family drama occur and had to move to the West Coast. She deleted her socials and changed her number. Even her friends could hardly get in touch with her. After that, I never heard from her again. It definitely sucks that it had to end so abruptly like that, but I sure do cherish the experience. I haven't had that much fun and connection with a woman since. In my experience as a woman, I want someone who can take a joke. Often translates to, I'm going to make jokes at your expense that are hurtful, negative, sarcastic, criticism disguised as joking, then become offended, and make you feel like you're a humorless, sensitive, uptight when you don't like it. Not saying this is you specifically, but it's a fine line between teasing and just being a Thai person. And TBH, a lot of guys aren't as good at navigating it as they think they are. Vulnerability. People are so guarded and closed off. Being able to have an open, genuine interaction with someone who is willing to share who they truly are is wildly attractive. That's what made me fall for my wife so quickly. She was so vulnerable and authentic from the start, I couldn't help but fall in love with her. Trauma is a very different beast than the false personas I'm talking about. When someone chooses to be a fake version of themselves, it's unattractive, as they are only hurting themselves building false relationships. Trauma is never a choice, and the remaining pain and difficulties are never something a person asks for. Accepting that you aren't to blame for it is part of the healing. Only you can heal you, but many can help. When you're ready, you'll ask for that help. Until then, just forgive yourself for being human and feeling pain. A few weeks ago I started this new job, and there's this girl doing her internship at the company I now work for. On my second or third day we got to talk, and at one point I asked if she was enjoying her internship. She told me something like it's all right, but that she has no ambition in any way or whatsoever, and that she felt embarrassed. She told our boss the same. And truth be told, I found this openness and vulnerability so refreshing. No facade or fake reply that she's enjoying it and have high ambitions or something that would be normal according to social media. Now, a few weeks later, most of the times we grab lunch together, and I find it still a refreshment to talk with her due how honest she is about everything. Haha. In truth, a pretty face and a cute smile. After that, a confident woman is very attractive. But there's also a difference in confidence in believing you're attractive and just confidence in self-worth and identity. There are some people that if you saw a picture or video of them, they wouldn't rate high on attraction, but when in the same room, you get an energy off them that is attractive separate from physical attractiveness. I think that's what Op was talking about. This reminds me of when I was in high school and had quite a bit of acne and was talking with a girl for some reason about my looks. and I was telling her how I was unattractive because of how much acne I had. She said something like, "What? That's silly. Honestly, don't even see your acne." And that is a compliment I will never forget for the rest of my life. Because honestly, at the time, her saying that was a little bit life-changing for me. I remember, and not understand at all what she was saying, and I thought she was just trying to be nice. So I kept pressing her to just be honest with me, and that she doesn't have to say that to be nice. So she explained to me that she wasn't being nice, it was just that because of my personality and my acting with some confidence, she just didn't really notice my having acne. I was seriously giddy about that for a while, but it was also a lesson learned that to this day, I try to remember to keep in mind. I get exactly what the guy in this article is talking about. For me, it was a girl who dyed her hair and worked in the Tulleys below my building in Seattle. That was about 7 years ago. We were about the same age, and I probably was in shape enough and good enough looking in my mid-20s to take a chance on asking her out. I just never got the courage. Unfortunately, got a new job elsewhere and Tully's was closed. So no clue where she went to. Tully's is not my favorite coffee, but I used to go just to see her for a bit, because I had that 100% perfect girl moment the first time I walked in and saw her talking to a customer. Recently had a fling where she didn't break eye contact once. Not one time. If I was behind her, she'd turn around. While giving me head, she stared at me like a tiger watching some animal putz around the plains. She never, ever broke eye contact. Though was great, but I couldn't come because I felt so watched. Afterwards, keep in mind, I'm very drunk at her house 2 hours away from my home in the middle of the woods. To be gross, but she took the rag and rubbed it all over herself, joking about how she wasn't on birth control and wanted to trap me. She also told me during pillow talk she had just committed vehicular manslaughter and had killed a drunk man. She had court that week and was annoyed by this. She chuckled and explained he looked like mush lol. I went around town with her the next day feeling bad if I just left immediately. She was not a good driver. So bad, in fact. I think the incident was probably equally both of their faults. Kind eyes. A huge turning point in my life was working retail in a major mall and having to deal with and look at hundreds of people each year and seeing how many hot girls had unpleasant eyes. Really looking at how they look at others when they believe no one is paying attention, especially just walking around. It was a game changer for me in who I was attracted to. Plus, seeing how people treated one another working retail really tips some bandages off. You can't really get to know someone at first glance, but it's so much easier when you're younger to get caught in how attractive someone is and ignore their personality. And you start noticing more things over time. How they treat waitstaff and service employees. How they act when they don't get what they want. Who they are when the chips are down. It's fascinating to people watch with no connection or agenda, just looking at how people walk and act and their quiet interactions with others. Absolutely, kind eyes. There's truly something to that eyes are windows to the soul adage, in my opinion. Anyway, I wish I could let you into a man's head as he's falling in love with a woman. It's a process that's so alien, so strange, that I'm afraid you've got to experience it to believe it. But it's as real as death and taxes. Sometimes, a guy will meet a gal and think nothing of it. Maybe she's a coworker, classmate, or his buddy's friend. She gets mentally categorized as female, acquaintance, feelings neutral. Then, he gets to know her better. If they mesh personality-wise, something fascinating happens in the man's mind. He starts to notice things about her appearance, pleasant things. It starts small. One day, he realizes he likes looking at the curve of her nose, or where her earlobe meets her face. It's nothing he can put his finger on or describe really, just that looking at that part of her makes him feel good. He starts wanting to do that more. Then, he notices an expression she makes could be her genuine belly laugh, or the way she furrows her brow in concern, and he gets a little flutter in his chest. They stay friendly for a while, get to know each other better. Then, one day, she hugs him goodbye, and he can't stop thinking about it. He plays it over and over in his head. The feel of her breasts through 2 shirts, her arms around his back, her smell. He finds these little mental movies of her playing unbidden when he's driving somewhere. squeezing out his other usual daydreams. Shortly thereafter, the guy realizes that whenever he looks at this woman, he feels good. He likes her lines, her curves, her sounds and smells. It's like she's gradually turned from a black and white photo into a 3D color movie with surround sound. A perfect movie that makes him feel good. He starts wondering what he can do to keep her around, to make her happy. He realizes that he likes looking at her more than any other human being in the world. To him, she is perfect and beautiful. A man in love with a woman doesn't see her objectively. There is a filter there, or some kind of participatory illusion. He does not see who you see in the mirror. He is seeing someone beautiful and perfect and sublime, and it's one of the most powerful things in his life. Go watch a happy old couple that's been married for decades. Watch the man's eyes. Sure, he may appreciate some young woman's butt in yoga pants or whatever, but watch his eyes when he's looking at his spouse. If you're paying close enough attention, you can almost see the filter click on when his gaze settles on her. In that moment, he's not seeing the same frumpy empty nester that you or I see. He's seeing something wonderful. No kidding, if I hadn't lived this stuff, I wouldn't believe it either. But it's true. My mom's appearance changes, whether it's fluctuating weight, gaining some crow's feet, doing a full makeup look, or even occasionally dyeing a chunk of her hair a bright color. But at the end of the day, he just sees her as her. When she does full makeup and asks how she looks, he says, her nickname with makeup. When she gains weight or wrinkles, she asks him what he thinks, and he's just like, because to him, she's just her. They've been together coming up on 30 years, and he still calls her my lovely bride. Dad has MS and is slowly becoming paralyzed, and he's self-conscious about it, but that doesn't matter to Mom or us kids. He's a rock for us. No matter what, he'll always love us, always be there for us. We can always come to him if we need to. If he had to fly to Afghanistan to get us from the freaking Taliban, there's not a doubt in my mind he would. And his body needing a brace, a walker, a wheelchair, whatever, doesn't change who he is inside. He's a loyal rock, and his body fighting itself doesn't negate that. The best answer is never the direct one, is it? The only literally true answers that are possible to the prompt are looks and smell, possibly voice depending on the medium, but only looks and smell can instantly make a person seem attractive. Any trait of the mind at all, by nature, is going to take some non-zero amount of time to communicate. If you have a grandchild who is 15, you would have to be older than me, assuming you had her parent when you were 15, and they followed in turn with their own adolescent pregnancy. You must be at least 45. But I'd wager you are more likely to be at least 10 years past that. So when you found your partner, at least 30 years ago, probably over 40 years ago, your social circle was probably based on a physical setting. We are talking sometime prior to the mid-90s. I was a child in that era, unlike many Redditors, and I remember it. My sister is around that age and met her husband literally on a street corner. My other sister married her boss. My brother, like you, won his wife with his voice when she called into his radio station to talk to him. None of them understand what it's like for me being single in an age of social media and dating apps. I simply don't have a good way of meeting people geographically close to me that doesn't involve them first making a binary decision based on looking at a picture of me. So, basically everyone who is single and out of grade school today. My social life is limited to people who I either meet accidentally in public, most of who have their noses buried in their phones, or have headphones on, or otherwise want to be left alone, or people who swipe right on my photo, or accept a Facebook recommendation to view my page. So my voice doesn't get me attention, nor does my admittedly awful personality. Fellow old person here, and you are saying what I've always said, that looks can fade, and even if you shag daily for an hour, you still need something in common for the other 23 hours of the day. In my single days, I went through a year where the universe went haywire, and I was just, as my oldest female friend put it, a magnet. I never had to approach women. They came to me. I'm not trying to flex, cause it was weird as hell for me, because I'd never had that kind of heat. I'd had a few long-term 2+ years girlfriends. But during this phase, I was such a stud, I was in constant danger of having drywall nailed to me. Anyway, towards the end of that run, I was dating a girl who was super cute, had huge boobs and no gag reflex and was as dumb as a sack of hammers. I mean, it was a challenge for me to want to put up with her vacuous personality just to get to the happy joy fun time stuff. I was also seeing a girl who was pretty much the exact opposite physically. She was like a cross between Joan Jett and Marissa Tomei, but we shared many interests and just clicked, and we are still together 30 years later. We have our moments of friction, but we still make each other laugh a lot. As for looks, she has aged remarkably slowly to the point she's always getting comments on photos asking, "Do you ever age? Do you have a portrait in the attic or something?" She had me photograph her 30th reunion, and looking at the photos, it was striking how different all the women looked considering they were all the same age. Indeed. But I employ conversation over gawking. My partner and I spent 6 hours talking at a party. She is half Asian. In those 6 hours we discussed religion, education, racism, and a plethora of other topics. And if you cannot learn about someone from those kinds of conversations, then it is a sad state of affairs. In those 6 hours, I learned we share a ridiculous amount of similarities from hobbies to politics and beyond. When we parted, I couldn't wait to carry on our conversation. We met the next day, and we was beyond hungover, but it felt natural, fluid, and relaxed. What was meant to breakfast became lunch and then dinner. She showed me the sights of London, found her passion for history and love of useless trivia and words equaled my own. So I'd say that is about as instant as these things can be. And it all started because her smile lit up a room full of drunken people trying to establish if their body would allow them to attempt with anyone without vomiting. Smelling pretty, that will make me look around for who smells so damn nice. I've always been fascinated or confused by how unbothered many people apparently are when it comes to other people's smell. Like I had many girls I found attractive visually, but when hugging, etc., and smelling them, it was always an immediate realization that the chemistry isn't there, like that their body smell wasn't attracting to me. I like the posts where people say they even like their partner's gym smell. Not unwashed for days, but fresh out of the gym. Or something that just shows the body chemistry between these two people matches. Sometimes I thought something is wrong with me that I'm so picky or sensitive when it comes to how someone smells. Like, don't get me wrong, I met many girls who I think smelled fairly neutral. But I also met girls who were attractive, but their smell felt too strong for me. And others smell nice. Haven't met someone yet whose smell I absolutely love. But I also haven't dated much lol. There was a study where they swabbed people's armpits and had people compare the scent. They concluded people are most attracted to third cousins. Robert Sapolsky theorizes that this is because, if we think in evolutionary terms, people want to perpetuate their own genes. If evolution were purely motivated by that, people would exclusively faff their siblings. Of course, the problem with that is birth defects. The theory is that third cousins perfectly balances the inbreeding risk with the risk of perpetuating genes that are too different from you. Anyway, my opinion is that genetic diversity is a public good and people should ignore their base instincts and go for more distant cousins. Of course, this is somewhat based on unproven conjecture, but still. A lady friend of mine leaned over my shoulder once to read my laptop. I'm not sure what perfume she was wearing, if any, but it just activated all the right buttons for me. I was too embarrassed to ask at the time, and being honest, I'm still kinda scared to ask right now. You don't have to be creepy about it. Just, hey, by the way, what kind of perfume do you wear? It smells fantastic. When she answers, then, wow, I really like that, she will be complimented. I have done it before, with random girls at work, or in a restaurant or store or whatever, when for some reason, caught a whiff, and I really liked it. I did it carefully and respectfully, with a genuine smile, and always got a smile in return. People like to know they smell good. Thick thighs are tremendously underrated. No joke. But I'm not sure if you're like me though, because while I absolutely adore thick thighs, I'm not into overweight women at all. I'm not into gigantic Kim Kardashian booties either. The typical thick woman doesn't do anything for me. They're going too far down the thick road for my taste. I'd prefer a woman like J.Lo or Mariah Carey in their primes. I'm just talking about their physical bodies, nothing else. Beyonce would be an example of a woman who has thick thighs, but is a wee bit too thick overall for my personal tastes. J.Lo and Mariah Carey had thick thighs to a slight degree, but were still extremely fit and in shape. So was Beyonce when she would be exercising 5 hours every day with her personal trainer. Only problem with Beyonce is that if she falls off her training or workout regimen and starts hitting that sweet potato pie, then the thickness starts to compound with interest. I can't tell you how many times I will see some woman out there that is absolutely drop-dead gorgeous, but her legs are so skinny that it just completely deflates the situation, if you know what I'm saying. A warm smile and a little goofiness. People tend to be very empathetic to women's emotions, much more so than most people recognize. A woman with a warm smile has almost a superpower of bringing joy and warmth around her. Most women, though, are so scared of being seen as an idiot or being humiliated, they stop just short of actually capitalizing on this. Sort of like how guys tend to stop just short of a similar sort of masculine energy that can make them crazy attractive. My fiancée has one of these. Kids, adults, it doesn't matter, they can be having the worst day ever, and she can come in and immediately change the energy around them. She never pressures anyone to cheer up. She lets them do their own thing. But with kids especially, you will often see them fighting against a smile, because they know they still want to be cranky. But she just made the energy so joyous. It's hard not to smile. When she does this, not only am just insanely attracted to her, but my heart melts so hard. Being emotionally vulnerable. It's not just guys that are cold in this world. Women can be fucking ruthless and mean for no logical reason. Not just men. I'm not asking for your life sob story on a first date, but I am attracted to people who treat themselves and others like humans. Like emotional beings. None of us like being reserved and cold, but not many are brave or courageous enough to risk being hurt at the possible reward of being connected to others. It's not the cold, stoic, tough people who are brave. They are often just traumatized and unwilling to process their stuff. It's the people who can get their handled and move on in the world with an even kinder view on others who are brave. We've all been hurt by someone. That doesn't mean the new people who stumble across you in their journey will do the same. Simultaneously, people you've only known for 2 weeks can treat you better than the people you've known for 2 decades. Time means nothing, and not everyone is guilty and worth hating on just because one or a few people screwed you over. Being kind is the only way to get connected. There is nothing universal. You can be generic and talk about tits and sure it is attractive. A good-looking face is appealing. Very superficially speaking though, there are layers to attractiveness outside of that. Meanwhile, do not get me wrong. Different things appeal to different people. Some men like busty girls. Some like smart girls. Some like trendy girls. Some like girls with especially good hygiene. In the end, what you need to focus on is to be the best version of yourself and learn to love whom you are. You take care of your skin. You go to gym, at least somewhat, and you work on yourself. Find clothes you like, not based on brand or price, but rather based on what looks good. Color combinations, etc. Emphasize on whom you are, on your character, and what you like, and you will find somebody like-minded and good-looking to you. Think of it like this. If you take care of your looks, you deserve someone taking care of theirs. If you are mature, you deserve someone whom is mature, etc. You know what is attractive. Confidence is attractive. This is the main lesson. Do not focus on one particular guy. Just be your own attractive self, the best version of yourself, and be around people, and people will attract to you. It is inevitable. As you do this, maybe not the first one, or the second one, or the third one, or even the fourth one, but one guy that you really like is going to attract to you, and you guys will be great together. Way to over-answer a post. Either way, I hope it helped. Good luck.